to Jacqui give evidence about Bob Lambert. She's been talking really this afternoon about how she how her relationship with Bob Lambert started, about their first date, about how, when she first met him, he was dating CTS. We heard about from Belinda's evidence. It seemed that there was some sort of overlap between the two of them, but she wasn't aware of that at the time. She talked about his involvement with Under Greenpeace, how she felt he was like a really big cheese in the group, how he was the person who wrote a lot of the leaflets. She says, now looking back on it, he was obviously intellectual, he was obviously university educated, but he claimed to be working casually as a gardener because he had like higher callings and non-materialistic things. And he gave her the impression that she should be less materialistic, which, is ridiculous considering he was what he really was. She talks about how they ended up having a child together, how he was like, she thought that he'd get a proper job once they had a kid, but how that didn't happen. And how that irritated her and they argued about it. He told her that his mother had died of cancer when he was 7, which wasn't the case at all. She only died a couple of years ago. And this, like for example, so like Bob was like 10 years older than her, and her own mother was not that much older than her, so they were quite close in age. And how like her mother would tell her not to give him such a hard time because he'd lost his mum. We heard about like how his involvement with like London, like he was always trying to get her to go to London Greenpeace meetings. She only went once. She says how anarchism wasn't for her. She was an animal rights activist, and she was only strictly ever interested in animal rights activism. She came up with a few things actually this afternoon about like how she still is very unapologetically an animal rights person, and is still got the true level of contempt required for animal abusers, which was good to hear. She talked about how she was on Struggle Street when she was going out with Bob, didn't have any money, she was forced into all sorts of jobs which, looking back, she didn't think so at the time, but she realises now were exploitative. She talked about working in a place called School Dinners on Chancery Lane, which apparently was well known amongst the legal profession, and it was popular amongst ex-public school boys. She had to dress up as a schoolgirl and cane them. And she talks about various sort of like hostessing jobs. She says she never did sex work, but looking back at it, in order to make ends meet, she had to do like jobs which involved her being like exploited by rich middle-aged white men. She sort of, she pointed out that like during that time, when she was desperate for money, it turned out that Lambert had plenty of money, and like when their cat, which they got from a sanctuary together, got hit by a car, and the vet bills for surgery were at 350 quid, and she thought, oh my god, the cat's going to die then because I can't get, it might as well be £1 million, I can't get 350 quid. Lambert was like, don't worry, I'm owed some money, I'll pay it. And she was like, wait, hang on. If you've got 350 quid, there's a lot of stuff we could use that for. But he was like, no, he was like insistent that he was going to sort out the cat, and he did. And he was like, it was more, and that was just the initial surgery, it was more than that. And she was like, how on earth is he getting this money? But looking back, he was never short of money. He always, it was not clear where the money was coming from, but yeah, they didn't have any money really. She didn't have any money. Just about like when her grandmother got ill and moved into the 3-bedroom house that her grandmother lived in, and that Bob was going to move in then with her, and all that. Yeah, I mean, she's like, as I said in previous updates, she's been very frank, very direct, talking about the time with a great amount of clarity. She's got a lot of really good one-liners. He claims that he was quite reticent about when they first went their first date. She laughed and said, no, he wasn't. He was like a rat up a drain pipe. It was quite funny, actually. His witness statement was read out, and his witness statement is obviously like a verbatim of him talking, and it was full of him going, sort of, like, sort of, so... and to which the first thing she said was, like, I'd like to withdraw my claim that he was articulate. My bulldog could have written better than that, given enough time. There's a lot of bits there, because obviously, because Jacqui is now spoken to Lambert much more recently, like in 2012, because they share a son and share grandchildren. There's a number of things that she's heard from him in recent times. So there's that separating out, what she knows from back in the day, what she knows from the disclosure, what she knows from what he's told her. And there was one point where she was asked about something, and it was put to her that maybe that Lambert had influenced her memory on that matter. And Jacqui's been very quick, very fast, very responding. She just went really slow and was like, he's influenced me more than I'll ever know. And it really underlined the way in which he has used and abused and manipulated her, and probably still is trying to manipulate her, and has been manipulating her in recent times. It's really dark. It's really unpleasant. But yeah, it's only a short break, a short afternoon break. We'll be going back in soon. I would imagine this is going to be a late finish, so I'd imagine we'll have more breaks. So I'll do another update when I get a chance. Cheers.